Hey guys, it's Victoria and you're watching True Value TV. I want to welcome you back to our channel. I know it's been a while, but life has been a little crazy. We're not making any excuses. We're here now. So today I kind of want to give a little bit of my testimony and talk a little bit about my college experience. I've had an unorthodox experience, if we want to use that word. It hasn't been your normal, typical graduate high school at 18, finish college at 22 story. Not at all. My life is basically the equivalent of you having one plan and God having a completely different one. It's almost like I went to college with the idea of, God, this is what I want to happen, and so you make it happen. And God was like, girl, you are funny. That is not what is going to happen. So I started college in 2009. I went to the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and my first semester was rocky, to say the least. I had at the time a boyfriend and I was in love. I just knew it was gonna last forever. So I spent most of my energy in that relationship and not in my books. I spent more time coming home than I did experiencing college. I spent more time trying to keep a relationship that God didn't actually tell me to stay in. And at that time I was in church, but my relationship with God wasn't as strong as it should have been. And college was really the first time that I really got to know who God was, because the things that I went through in college really forced me to say, okay, you can't do this on your own, so you have to find somebody else. Your parents aren't here. The relationship you're in isn't right for you. So who are you going to turn to? So I turned to God, and that was probably the best decision I made. And of course I fell and had my struggles here and there, but through it all, God was the one that was there the entire time. God was the one that kept me through everything I went through. So let's fast forward. At UNCG, I flunked out twice. Not once, twice. So when you're on academic probation or having academic troubles, there's a process. So your first semester, if you mess up, they give you a chance and they put you on academic probation, and you have to get a specific GPA in order to stay there. If you don't receive the GPA at the end of your spring semester, they send you home, and you have to stay home for a semester to kind of get yourself together and get your mind right. When you come back, you're put on a special program, and if you don't get the GPA that you're supposed to the second time, you're gone for a whole year. So I went through that whole process. I was kicked out, had to come back home. That was probably the hardest thing I've ever faced, to tell my parents, hey, listen, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, so I'm here. I didn't stop going to school. Luckily, there's a really great community college back home, so I was able to go there. Not the easiest thing to do, to look people in the eye and be like, yeah, I went to school, but you know, it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, so I'm back here. And luckily I had a really good support system, so while I know people probably looked at me strange, nobody actually said anything. So I'm back home, you know, going to the community college, trying to get myself together and trying to stay encouraged and motivated. And that is hard. That is one of the hardest things to do, to know that you failed at one place and now you have to succeed here. I was able to make it through my community college experience, and in hindsight, I almost wish I would have started with community college first, because one, it is a whole lot cheaper than an actual university. Two, there are smaller classes, the teachers are more accessible, and it's just a good experience to really get your feet wet without going all the way away from home and then failing and having to come back. So at the community college, it worked for me. It really did. I was able to take the classes that I need, get my GPA up, and have classes to transfer. And while I was at AB Tech, the community college, I was able to find out information about my current school, Western Carolina. So I was able to send in my transcript and apply and get in. And I got here, and I loved it. I should have, if I hadn't gone to AB Tech first, I should have gone to Western. But I know that God has a specific plan, and I know that his plan required all of this. And while I was going through the process, I was like, God, what is the point of this? When is this all going to make sense? Why am I going through this? Why can I not, just get things easy and go on to the next level? But God requires certain things of us in order to get to the next level. And some of the things that he put in me didn't come out until I went through those hard times. Some of the things that I use today and that are carrying me through, I wouldn't have gotten if I hadn't gone through those hard times. I wouldn't have learned how to pray as hard as I do. I wouldn't know how to cry out to God. I wouldn't know how to pick myself back up after a failure if I hadn't gone through those things. So while it hurt, I knew it was for my good. God has a way of taking everything, Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for the good of them that love God and who are called according to his purpose. So when God calls you, he has a plan. And his plan a lot of times isn't going to be what you think. Because God's plan, honestly, is something that we can't even imagine. Ephesians 3:20 says he's able to do more than we can even imagine, dream. Even our wildest dreams don't compare to what he has planned for us. So for me, it took me a long time to really understand that while some of the things I faced hurt, in the end they really helped me. And I was able to process things and to really get it and to really see that God does know what he's doing. Isaiah 55:8 says, "My thoughts are nothing like your thoughts, says the Lord, and my ways are far beyond anything you could imagine. For just as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts." The way God works, we can't even comprehend it. Like, for me to try and explain it right now, it doesn't work, because I can't even come up with the words to really describe who he is or how amazing he is or how his thoughts work, because I can't even begin to comprehend him. I love God in the fact that even when I don't understand, he still carries me and he still shows me glimpses of what he has so that I know that he's still with me. Ecclesiastes 3 says that it's, the time for everything scripture. Time to laugh, time to cry, time to be born, time to die, time to plant, time to harvest, time to love, time to hate, a time for everything. And my favorite verse is verse 11. Yet God has made everything beautiful for his own time. He has planted eternity in the human heart, but even so, people can't see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. There are some things that honestly God can't tell us, because if he told us his entire plan, it would probably blow our minds. Actually, I'm pretty sure it would. If he were to really be like, this is all that I have for you, and this is where I'm going to take you, I don't think we would be able to handle it. And so God gives us little bits and pieces. He gives us the little puzzle pieces, and then he slowly brings it together. The same way that you would put together a puzzle is the same way God works. He has the entire picture. He knows exactly what he's going for. Puzzles are kind of my new favorite thing. So what God has is he has this whole picture. He knows exactly what it's going to look like. He knows which piece is going to go where. He knows exactly how they're going to fit together. And we don't. All he gives us is this. He gives us this cute little piece, and we have to sift through the box to put the pieces together. Now, we don't get this. We have this. But when you trust in God and when you know that his plan is perfect and when you know that he has the plans that are going to prosper you and to give you a hope and a future, you don't have to worry about this picture. You can trust that God is there and that he's got you. Even when I don't understand and even when I want to give up, I have to recognize that my life isn't my own. And I know that there are times where I wish I was like, God, can we work this out a little differently? And he's like, no, because you need this. We don't always understand why we need certain things, and we don't always understand the way that they're going to work together. But you have to trust God. You have to stay encouraged, and you have to know that even in your confusion and even in the times where you're lost, God is there. You might not get it, and you might not fully comprehend, and you might just feel like the world is over. But God has already figured it out. Recently, my latest saga with school, I took some summer classes, and you're required to have a 275 to stay in my program. My I needed a B plus. I ended up with a B minus, which took my GPA down to a 2.73. So I was dropped from the program. I had to drop my classes for this semester and add just some random classes to stay full time. So if I were still in the program, I'd be set to graduate May 7th, 2016. And as of right now, I don't know when my graduation date is. And when I first found out, I was hurt. Like, hurt. Like, I cried a lot because I was like, God, I'm so close, and here I am getting knocked back down again. But I've come to terms with the fact that God's plan is perfect. So while I have an idea of what I want, I know that there's a reason that God is keeping me here, and I know that there's a reason why he has me staying here as long as he does. Because 2009 to 2015 is a long time, and I'm ready to be done, but God still has work for me to do. He still has stuff that he wants me to finish and wants me to complete before he can actually release me. God will keep you in a place until you learn your lessons and until you really grasp what he has for you. He's not going to send you into the world unprepared, because that reflects on his character. He's not going to send you somewhere where he hasn't given you the proper training and the proper tools. When he calls you, he equips you. So if he's called you and you feel like you're not ready, it's probably because you're not, and because God is still pouring into you, and he's still fixing you, and he's still making you ready so that when that next level comes, you can meet it head on, and you can meet it without any worry or any fear. So if you find yourself stuck in a place and you're like, God, when can I move? Be still. Don't rush. Because when you rush, you miss out on stuff. And when you miss out on stuff, you're not fully prepared for what's next. When you rush and you try and get through situations real quick, they come back until you fully immerse yourself in them and you fully understand what God is trying to show you. So I just want to encourage you, no matter what you're facing, don't give up. If you find yourself coming up against roadblock and up against things that are stopping you from getting where you think you're going, don't fret, don't stress out. Know that God is with you and he has already made a way. So while you're in the moment, trust God. Know that he hasn't left you. He hasn't forsaken you. His word says that. And God is not like man. He doesn't lie. So if he said it, you can trust it. So if he told you that he's going to take care of you and he's going to provide for you, that's what he's going to do. If he told you that he's going to carry you to a different level, that's what he's going to do. But in that moment, you wait. You hold on and you let God work. Don't try and do the work for him. Don't try and be his co-pilot. Let him lead. Be spirit-led. Let your spirit take over. Let God have full control. Don't hold on to what you think is supposed to happen. Surrender everything, because there's a lot that happens behind your surrender. You saying yes to God's plan is more powerful than anything, because God will take your yes and he will expand it in ways you didn't even imagine. God will take your yes and he will absolutely blow your mind. There are people waiting on your yes. There are people waiting for you to step into your purpose and to step into what God has called you to. And a lot of times we let our fears and reservations of what happens after our yes stop us. And so we stay in these situations instead of letting God work, and instead of figuring out what he has for us, we get frustrated and we pout and we complain. And that's not helping anybody, because God needs you. And there's stuff that he wants you to know now and that he wants you to get in this season. And if you don't get it, there are people who are going to they need you. There are people that are waiting, and they're going to fall by the wayside if you don't take your place. So be encouraged. In this season, don't fret and don't worry. Know that God is in control, and know that he has a plan. Know that even in your confusion and in your tears and in the midst of your sadness and in the midst of you just being lost, God is there. He's not lost. Nothing that happens in your life is a surprise to him, and nothing that you go through completely throws him off. It doesn't. You might think it does, and you might feel like you are completely alone, but God is right there. Cry out to him. Let him know how you're feeling. He knows, but sometimes he just needs to hear it from you. He wants to know that you are willing to give him your cares and give him your worries. He's waiting to take that burden off of you. So go cry out to God. Go lay it out in front of him. Pray. Let him hear your heart. Let him take those burdens, and you walk into what he's called you to do, and you walk into where he's calling you to go. Don't worry about when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. Don't worry about the plan or how it looks. Don't worry about any detours that you're taking or how it seems like you're not on track. Know that you're on track with God. So be encouraged, and we'll be back with more videos later this week. Comment box below. Talk to me. Let me know kind of what you're going through, if you can relate to anything, if you've had your own struggles in college, if you're in college, if you're not in college, if you thought about going to college. Let me know how your experience was, because I know my experience was not your typical one, but I know that it was important and it mattered. So everything you go through matters, and take heart in that. Take comfort in knowing that nothing that happens in your life is just on accident or by happenstance, but know that God has a plan for it. So leave your comments in the little comment box below. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're everywhere. And other than that, I will see you in the next video. Bye!